bypass the Pledge of Allegiance, not because of anything other than just the circumstances. So we have an updated agenda with 2 late items on it. Approve the hire of Skylar Bascom and approve the retirement of Delise Rose. Those are both under consent agenda items D and E. Unless we have any other additions, we can go ahead and approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All right, so Mike as a motion and Jason as a second. Any discussion on any of those items? All right, we'll go ahead and go around the screen like we have before. So I'll start with Jason Van Eck.
Aye.
All right, and Deborah Brown.
Aye.
And Joe Kennedy.
Aye.
And Mike Reynolds.
Aye.
And Jenny Daniels.
Aye.
All right. And Jans.
Aye.
All right, and I am also an aye, so I don't see any other board members on here. If I missed you, speak up, please. All right, looks like we're moving on. So I haven't been notified of any public comments tonight. Do we have any? Okay, so our certified and classified representatives. See Elizabeth on here. How are you, Elizabeth?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Very good.
So yeah, I just wanted to say, we're entering into some really interesting times, right? We're in the last sort of school board meeting before we start heading off for the school year. And I represent a really diverse staff. I represent staff who are, extremely nervous about what the presentation is going to be about tonight, about our official plans for reopening, who themselves or, the family members in their households are at risk of COVID and are very nervous about what we're going to be doing and what that means for their jobs. I also have staff who are eager to be back into the classrooms face to face with people and to be there with their students, right? We have those staff members too. So I just want to kind of recognize that we have a very diverse community of people who have a lot of different opinions about safety and about our community needs, and that all of those things are on our minds as teachers, and that I just really want to urge the board to keep in mind those pieces, and also just thinking about the comfort levels of our teachers and our staff as we're planning out how we're going to be rolling out the labor for the institution that we are all a part of. So yeah, that's just what I want to say here before Tom gives his presentation and Rachel and all that. So thank you guys for letting me have my time.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I don't see Velma on here, so I'm assuming we can move on. Tom, introduction of our new junior high principal.
Yeah, and I think I see Terry Martin present, and I'd like to welcome him. I'm happy to welcome Terry Martin to the junior high as the new junior high principal recommendation to the board of directors. Regarding the hiring process, the principal vacancy drew 19 applicants. After review of staff survey, 6 candidates were interviewed for the position. The interview process included each candidate's formal presentation of a 60-day entry plan, as well as a teacher observation. The interview and a host of questions. The interview committee included classified, licensed administrator, and parent representation. I did the second interview with Mr. Martin, and he rose to the top. I'm pleased to recommend him to the board tonight. A bit about his background. He started his career in Sandfield, Oregon as an English teacher. He worked as a principal, assistant principal as well for over 14 years in Alaska. He has 6 years of HR experience. He has family in Lebanon. His grandfather was a logger. He loves outdoors, small towns. He looks forward to fishing in his free time here. He's a great fit for Sweet Home, our goals academically, as well as for our students striving to be great citizens. I'm pleased he's on board, and I'd like him to say a few words, Terry, if you could.
Good afternoon or good evening to the school board members and staff that are online. I'm super pleased to be here in Sweet Home. Folks have been very friendly, and I have been hearing a lot of good things as I'm out and about town talking with people. A lot of good words about the district, which is, you know, a testament to all of you. And it's going to be a great year. We're going to make it one. And like I said, I'm just really pleased to be here. I thank you, and I thank the superintendent. We've been wanting to get back to Oregon. This is our chance to do so. I grew up in Hermiston, and so Sweet Home, the size of the community, you know, is just a great fit for my family. We're out picking berries this weekend, made a cobbler, so just really enjoying ourselves. Friendly people and good words about the school district.
Thank you, Terry. That's my introduction.
All right. Next, we have the superintendent's report. Tom, I'll let you continue on.
Okay. If you refer to, I'll be referring to your board pack, and I'll also call up on the screen some of the documents, including the ODE new guidelines and COVID-19 county data. Since our last board meeting, as you know, we made preparations for in-person and distant learning for all our K through 12 students. On July 28th, Governor Brown put forth new school health and safety metric regulations for all Oregon schools. For grades 4 through 12, given the current data, COVID data, state and county measurements as they're measured against OHA, Oregon Health Authority, and ODE metrics, nearly all schools, grades 4 through 12, are closed for in-person learning and must open with only distance learning options for grades 4 through 12. I say nearly all, as there'll be more guidelines coming out in the next 2 days, as there may be some provisions for rural and very small districts, underscore maybe. For grades K through 3, given the current COVID-19 state and county data, some districts may open for in-person and distance learning options. Lynn County districts currently meet this metric. And I'd like to take a moment to orient you to the metrics and the data. So in your packet under 4C1, you'll see the OHA and ODE metrics. And I'm going to take a moment here to pull them up on screen. So if you can give me a moment to share screen. I don't know if you could give me a thumbs up to if you could see this. Okay. And I'm going to do something unusual. My lights went off in my office, so I need to move for a second here. I'm back. Sorry about that. So these are the guidelines put out July 28th. You'll see here, this is produced by the Oregon Department of Education and the Oregon Health Authorities. What I highlighted in yellow are the new guidelines put forth by the governor. Okay, for returning to in-person instruction through on-site or hybrid model, these metrics here must be met. So the state metric, it must be met 3 weeks in a row, a test positivity rate of 5% or less. For the counties, the county metrics are 10 cases or less per 100,000 population, in the preceding 7 days. Test positivity, same as the state, 5% or less. Okay. The exceptions are right here as laid out. So the following exceptions, we need to meet all 4 of these. So COVID-19 is not actively spreading among school community. The case rate is 30 cases or less per 100,000. Test positivity, same number, 5% or less. And the school needs to be in full compliance of sections 1 through 3 of our blueprint. So the exceptions exist for only grades K through 3. And the reason why the health authorities put forth is that younger students get the virus at lower rates, get sick less when they get COVID-19, and spread the virus less than older adults. I attended the ODE meeting and they cited the research that supports this. Younger students, the deputy superintendent of schools also put forth that literacy and math skills, building them at an early age is very critical. So ODE has balanced this and created this metric to meet this demographic. Also, it should be noted that ODE is working on also limited on-site instruction for small groups, and they give some examples, and this still needs to be worked out, and we are watching this closely for programs such as career technical education, so our CTE courses, and helping students who experience disability, having them on site on a limited basis. So we're still working through this. So these are the new metrics that were put out July 28th. And now what I'd like to do is show you the data that was released, I think around 3:30, 4 o'clock today, the new uploaded data. If you give me a second. I'll expand this. Maybe a thumbs up if you can see this, if the font's big enough. Thank you. Okay, so if you remember the numbers of 5 or less for the state, you can see the state has not met that expectation for K through 12 students. If we look at a county, let's take the first one, Baker. Also, their county data shows that for 3 weeks in a row, they have not met the test positivity of 5 or less either for 3 weeks in a row. And they haven't met the 10 or less that's needed to open all K through 12 schools. Now, if we apply the K through 3 exception provisions, they still haven't met that because this number needs to be 30 or less per 100,000. And here you can see this is recent data given to school districts, I believe at 4 o'clock today, produced again by the Oregon Health Authorities. And I'll scroll through this. Deschutes, again, not meeting the 30 or less, and test positivity not meeting 5 or less. I should say below 30, excuse me. Okay, other counties, Jefferson, a lot of cases per 100,000. We'll go to Lynn. So Lynn County, and it goes down to the next screen. So we did not make the 10 or less also for grades K through 12. But we do make the 5% or less for test positivity rate, and we do still meet under 30 cases rate per 100,000. So for planning purposes, we've been following the data and we've been preparing for both kindergarten through third grade distance learning options, as well as in person. The data today is not favorable trend, but nevertheless, it is under, at this point, the stipulations by the Oregon Health Authorities and ODE. Here's more counties. There's been a lot of conversations about Umatilla. You can see their case rates are very high, as well as their test positivity. There's only one county thus far that has 0, 0, 0. So I'm gonna bring the screen back so I can see everybody. Any questions thus far about the state regulations and, as you see, the county data?
So Tom, what happens if we get 3-4 weeks in and the county data goes up? Is that a then switch to distance learning for everybody?
Correct. Correct. The way we read it and our understanding, out of abundance of caution, it needs to have 3 weeks of data that meets the state specs. These guidelines are brand new, and Wednesday, ODE will be releasing more guidelines, and I will keep the board and community updated if there's any difference in the interpretations. But out of abundance of a caution, we need to meet these for 3 weeks in a row. Regionally, at this time, Albany, Corvallis, Santiam Canyon are planning for distance only for grades K through 12. Of course, Corvallis shares is another county. Central Lynn is preparing to make the call around August 20th. Lebanon is planning, much like we are planning, they're calling it a blended K through 3 learning in class and distance. And Harrisburg is preparing for both in-person and distance learning and watching the data like we are very carefully. We surveyed parents mid-July. I think it's important for the board to know that 20 to 25%, between 20 and 25%, depending on the school and grade level, of the 600 parents responded, they preferred a distance learning option. Last week, when we learned that distance or in-person learning was not possible in the immediate future for grades 4 through 12, and K through 3 is still a possibility, we had head secretaries at our elementary schools call as many parents as possible to drill down into the data and understand our parents' preference. And what we learned, excuse me, is between 20 and 48%, again, depending on the grade and the school of our parents surveyed, preferred distance learning options. Some are undetermined, and the remainder, of course, up to 80% would like in-person learning. So it's our proposal tonight that we provide both in-person and distance learning options for grades K through 3, given our county metrics are in good standing. And we will also tonight, with Rachel Stuckey's help, and we have our nurse online and our director of student services at this meeting to talk about the safety protocols that we're following to keep our staff, our students, our community is safe and healthy as possible. It's also our proposal tonight to open, given the county and state metrics, to distance learning for grades 4 through 12, distance, and propose in-person learning when the metrics are available. The second portion of this, I'd like to introduce Rachel, who will talk about the blueprints. And before I ask our Chief Academic Officer, Rachel Stuckey, to guide us through the documents, I want the board to know that we submitted the documents last week to the local county officials, Lynn County. We met with them. They reviewed our blueprints. It was Thursday. They said that we were the first school district in Lynn County to meet with them and to review the documents, and they gave us a green light to move forward with both plans. And we will be working with them in partnership to stay current with all the protocols. With that, I'd like to introduce Rachel for my portion of the superintendent report to talk about the blueprints. Go ahead, Rachel.
Thank you, Superintendent Yeres. Good evening, Chairman Reddick and members of the board. My goal tonight is to provide you with a snapshot that gives you an idea of what the blueprints entail, and also what paperwork was required to be submitted to Oregon Department of Education, also to the Public Health Authority, and to also have you look very briefly at what the paperwork was for comprehensive distance learning as well, because there were two paths that needed to be created for that. I'm going to try very hard to share this without error, but I will admit operator error whenever I share these things. So let's see if I can find what I need here. Okay, here we go. All right, so the operational blueprints are part of the requirement from Ready Schools, Safe Learners, and the different paths being that operational blueprints are required for on-site hybrid instruction, and the comprehensive distance learning plan is a one-page document, and we will take a look at that later. But the requirement was that every school submit to the school board its plans for reentry, and also that those plans would be made available to the public. And pending approval tonight, we would have those plans online tomorrow for everyone to access and take a look at. Before I go to the next slide, I think it's important to note that all 6 plans that were submitted to the Public Health Authority and were given to you as directors are the same. And that's because with this pandemic, we can't afford a misstep. We need to have all 6 schools in the same synced protocol, policy, practice. So our instructional options and the requirements for them start with on-site hybrid learning. And as Superintendent Yeres explained, right now that is kindergarten through 3rd grade. Although we have great anticipation that we'll be able to bring other grades this year at some point. The other option is the comprehensive distance learning model for grades 4 through 12. If we take a look at the on-site hybrid requirements for paperwork, we do have to fill out the operational blueprints, which are a minimum of 17 pages. And the difference between these two is that the blueprints are submitted to 3 parties. The blueprints are submitted to you as Board of Directors, the local Public Health Authority, and to the Oregon Department of Education. The comprehensive distance learning is a 1-page description. It's quite a bit different than the operational blueprints, and that's because with distance learning, we don't have to factor in the safety that we would if we were on site. So that's a 1-page description, and that doesn't go to the board or to the local Public Health Authority. That gets submitted straight to the Oregon Department of Education. And with just one page of details, it probably won't take very long before we get approval from that. But at any rate, we'll be doing both. We'll be doing, hopefully, unless the data changes at the county level, we're still anticipating and planning for on-site hybrid for kindergarten through 3rd grade. I want you to take a closer look, and I hope that these links are going to work for me. I practiced today to make sure these would work. Want you to get a snapshot of both the blueprints and a snapshot of the description component for comprehensive distance learning. If we go to the blueprints, hopefully I don't lose you. Here we go. The blueprints themselves, here you'll see that on-site and hybrid are chosen, and anytime a district chooses that, you go down below and it says you have to fill out the blue portion. So there was no way around it. And rather than take you through all the pages, I just want to show you the basic setup. The requirements from Oregon Health Authority and ODE are on the left, and our response to every single requirement through the 17 pages is on the right side. The description for comprehensive distance learning, that's just one page. Again, it's very simple. It doesn't take very long to fill out. If you check off that you want comprehensive distance learning, then you only have to fill out the green portion.
I'm not seeing what you're talking about. When you click on those links, there's nothing on my end.
Oh, no. Oh, I'm so sorry. All right. Then I will pull back and get out of that slide because that's not going to help us. So I'm going to switch back to the operational blueprints because I know that our board of directors received those for each school. Is that correct? Yes. The essential operational blueprints have 3 elements, and the first part is public health protocols, and this is really where Thad Holub and Patricia O'Day did an outstanding job of bringing protocols together. We need to have plans and processes for disease management, high-risk populations, face coverings. What do we do to isolate? What are our plans for physical distancing? And all of those have been captured in section 1, as well as the communicable disease protocol. The second section of the blueprints deals with facilities and how schools operate. What's our attendance going to be like? What's arrival and dismissal going to be like? How is transportation going to be approaching this? What is our cleaning and disinfecting protocol? So that's the second piece. And the third piece is what's our response going to be to an outbreak? Hopefully never having one, but if there is an outbreak, what's first of all our plan for prevention? How are we going to communicate? Who do we communicate it to? What's our recovery plan going to be? And what will re-entry look like? So those are the 3 components that are part of the blueprints. And let me now just throw out a really big number to you, if it will allow me to do it. So it's important to keep in mind that the number of requirements that we needed to meet or to show a plan for was 135 requirements. It was a lot of thinking, and again, a heavy lift from the Student Services Department. They did an outstanding job of putting things together in our plans, and you'll see those. Rather than be cruel and take you through all 18 plus pages and 135 requirements, I'm going to pause for just a second. Can you see this? Yes? Okay, good. So rather than take you through all 135, I just pulled one. 1E is, what is our public health communication plan? How are we going to communicate to staff that are on site about what our processes are for control measures for infection. So what is within our blueprints is something called the Communicable Disease Management Plan, which again, Thad's department put together. It contains talking points, communication plans, a letter that could be sent home, a flow chart, and communication scripts. So if you take this and you times it by 135 requirements, that gives you a pretty good idea of how entailed these blueprints really are. Now I'm shifting to a sample from our comprehensive distance learning plan. The green section is for strictly distance learning. And what would our plan be for returning to on-site learning? And as you heard from Superintendent Yeres already tonight, that depends solely on county and statewide metrics. So that very simple to see. And you'll see, and what will be put online here is a parent guide. And actually Superintendent Yeres is going to take you through that tonight. So you'll have a chance to see that. We do have one outlier, and Superintendent Yeres also referred to this. Per the Oregon Department of Education, schools that are using the comprehensive distance learning model, which are all 6 of our schools, grades 4 through 6, might be able to offer on-site instruction to specific populations of students, including CTE, students with disabilities, and students with other instructional needs. However, we just don't have clarity on that yet, and we're anticipating learning more about that specific requirement in the coming weeks. So before I turn this back over to Superintendent Yeres, are there any questions that I can answer just about the template and what went into it? Okay, I'll turn this over to Superintendent Yeres then.
Thank you. And the board, in your packets are the blueprints that's in a booklet form as a reminder, and we have replications of all the school blueprints. So what I'd like to do now is present the share screen and present the parent-friendly and staff and community-friendly version of this. So if you bear with me, let me share screen. Okay. Okay. Oops. So thumbs up if you can see it. Yes. Chairman Reddick, can you see this?
No, I can't see. It's just you.
Okay, stand by.
That looks better.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this we are prepared to. I believe we have this, or it's teed up to put on our website after this meeting. It's this is updated version 4. You saw this presented at the last board meeting, and it was in accordance to the Oregon Department of Education and Health Authority's data at that point. So here's the updated version. Here's our summer timeline. We did our surveys. We did some more drill down surveys ending on July 24th. I mentioned those earlier. Tonight, we're here to present the blueprints, and we've already presented to the local health authority. This date here will begin registration last week of registration, and we have school begins after Labor Day as scheduled. It's important, I think, for the community, I know for the community, to know that at this point, we're not looking to adjust our calendar. We are also looking at a regular 5-day-a-week schedule. The community and parents should know that the first week to 2 weeks of school, we will be most likely adjusting schedules per grade, particularly for kindergarten and through first grade. So as an example, we might have first graders coming solely to school and reviewing our safety protocols, learning from our safety protocols, really making sure that we have all the protocols in place before we add another grade. So more information coming, but for right now, we are not proposing adjusting the calendar, working within our regular calendar. This will also allow for some extra professional development time for our teachers, as well as we onboard students in a systematic way, safe and systematic way. Excuse me. Instructional options at this point. The metrics show 4 through 12 distance only option, and K through 3 on-site or distance option. So we want to make sure we stay in compliance with our data, and we follow all safe school protocols. Students in K through 3 will be assigned a teacher from their neighborhood school for both instructional options, distance or site learning. And if a quarantine or if Lynn County COVID data testing metrics are not met, we will pivot and make on-site, unavailable. We will go strictly to distance learning using our Canvas learning management system. Over on this side, 4 through 12, distance only. This is the only model that's an option at this point. Grades 4 through 6 students will participate in a virtual classroom with their neighborhood school to their on-site regular classroom teacher and stay in a cohort. And then we'll use this Canvas learning management system as well. Excuse me, it's important to note that we put up here that our distance learning model will be greatly enhanced from the spring. As you know, that our educators and students needed to pivot immediately to a distance model given the school and statewide shutdown. We have a team of teachers right now working diligently on creating a great templates for our other teachers to get trained up on when they return. And this template I'll talk about here in a moment, this learning platform, I should say. Same thing, grades 7 through 12, they will have a schedule. They'll participate with their regular school teachers that they were signed up for. We are looking at modified 7-period weeks, or I should say semesters. We're looking at breaking classes up, for instance, concentrating on 3 at the beginning for the first 9 weeks and 4 classes for the second 9 weeks. Something like this. More information will come as to how we organize this, because we want to be able to limit our cohorts, have cohorts smaller so we can pivot back to school, as well as we want all this, our schedule to be user-friendly for our students and staff. We do not want a 7-period day to be overwhelming. So we're looking at breaking this up over a course of a semester. Here we do talk about being poised to come back to school should the data allow us, and we will follow all our safety protocols from this distance format back to site format, or learning, I should say. Our logistics. So for on-site grades K through 3, each Monday, and I'll show you a sample. Kevin Strong, our business manager, made a great, I think, user-friendly display of county and state metrics and whether we're meeting them or not, and we'll publish those. So we'll publish weekly where we're at, whether we're meeting or not meeting the metrics, and whether we need to transition to distance only, which would be required per metrics. Monday is when the state uploads or gives to districts the new data. So we hope to post every Monday this data in our standing. Same thing with our distance only for grades 4 through 12. Now for our site learning, as a reminder, it's in the blueprints, but here is an easier, simpler translation. For site learning, we must have staggered arrival and departure times to reduce interactions with groups, so we can anticipate possibly an hour of getting kids in an orderly, safe fashion into school. We have to screen every student that gets on a bus, off a bus, and enters a building. Physical distancing requirements are in place. We must maintain 35 square feet per person, including staff. And I would like to say, as a side note, is what the surveys are telling us. For instance, in our elementary schools, our regular enrollment, we have between 19 and say a large class at elementary would be 28 students, sometimes a little bit larger, but generally for grades K through 3, that's the range. And we are looking at right now, parents choosing up to 50% distance. So we can anticipate right now between 20 and 50% of class size reduction for folks that want to choose the distance option, making our social distancing capabilities, larger. And we will also have extra classrooms and learning space to help with social distancing. Students must stay in stable cohorts. This is an update from the last information I gave, to not exceed 100 students. So as an example, students can be in 4 cohorts, let's say, of 25, 25, 25, and another 25 to stay under that 100. We will not push this or attempt to push this, but those are the guidelines and limits. Volunteers and non-essential guests are not allowed buildings. Essential visitors must be screened and wear face coverings. Students will be assigned restrooms, exits, and entry points, and we will clean and sanitize multiple times a day. For all students, we have purchased Chromebooks or tablets for every student. We have those available, and we have, I think, approximately 300 more that are coming, and we hope to have in place for the first week of school. Another side note is we are increasing our bandwidth drastically. We've taken measures for that, and those will be implemented before the beginning of the school year, as well as we've bought a bigger server to help store our data. As a reminder, students and staff exhibiting symptoms, it's in the blueprint documents, must stay home, and we have protocols in place. Students will be visually screened upon entry. Temperatures will be taken, and we have temperature devices to be able to do that by non-touch, I guess they call it. Students and staff are required to wear face coverings. There are exceptions, and parents can click this link here to see these guidelines. And we will have lots of lesson plans regarding washing and sanitizing hands upon entering a building, going to different rooms, and so forth. Almost finished here. Home stretch. Transportation, as you know, was a very large challenge for trying to bring back K through 12, which we were attempting to do using surveys and conversations with parents. And but at K through 3, we anticipate being able to do this also at a reduced 20 to 30% less students. Food service, K through 12, we will continue to deliver no matter which learning option is selected. You can see down here, we will, for distance learning students, we will have our grab and go services ready to go for Foster pickup, the high school, and Holly. And we must be very mindful of cohorts mixing during eating and recess. The learning platform is Canvas. There's some talking points regarding Canvas. It's paramount that we deliver great learning options for our students. Single sign-ons, so allowing a lot of different devices to be able to integrate. Canvas allows us to upload Google platforms, YouTube platforms. This will reduce our need for paper. We can take attendance. We'll have timely feedback for parents. This will be greatly enhanced. We have a great team of teachers. I'm excited for how we deliver Canvas to our students and community. And we will continue to develop throughout the year. Our support services will continue. You saw this slide last time. We will continue to work with Boys and Girls Club. We are talking about how this relationship will continue to the maximum extent possible. Counseling services will be available. Resource officer. There is new information when it comes to athletics. I hope that we will have a more extensive presentation next time, but as you are aware, that fall sports competitions have been moved to spring, and more information will follow. I'll ask the athletic director to give a presentation on that at our next board meeting. And we are not quite certain at this point on all the stipulations on how, to what extent we can practice or can we practice. So we're investigating these things. We will have our health services up and running, and we are in very close communications with the Lynn County Health and Mental Health. And what's next? The last slide is a running commentary, if you will, of where we're going. For parents, we encourage them to contact the principal and the school secretaries for answers. We look forward to registration, and we look forward to implementing both our distance and on-site learning. And at this point, I am going to take a moment and reverse my screen share, if I can figure this out. Bear with me. Let's see. Oh, here it is. Sorry. Chairman Reddick, at this point, we've been talking a lot. I'm completed my report. Are there questions?
Am I allowed to ask questions at this portion?
Sure, go ahead.
So one question I have is, especially for the K through 3, if we have K through 3 teachers who are working in the classrooms, but some of them have students who are online, is there a way that, is it part of the plan for how that's going to be managed for both of them?
Yeah, great question. Elizabeth, I'm not prepared to deliver an absolute. At this point, operationally, principals are working with their staff, working with the data, working with the surveys. And also I'm very excited to see what the Canvas core team puts together. And we'll make those decisions, as we get closer to the school year. I mean, what's in your question is, will there be a teacher potentially solely working with online students and a teacher working with site only students? That's absolutely in the realm of possibility for sure. We want to make great decisions that increase our efficiencies, our quality. So I leave those decisions at this point to the building principals to work out with their own master schedule and what the survey and the data says to them.
Another question about the you were talking about updating the metric or the numbers every week. Is that how often it would be decided, like whether or not we would be staying open? Like, would once those numbers are updated, is that a decision time so that we would be checking every single week, or is it the every 3 weeks? That was a little bit confusing to me.
Yeah, correct. And I'll get there'll be a meeting Wednesday with ODE and they'll be talking about that very thing. But as I stated, I see the way I read it now is we have to be in good standing 3 weeks in a row. And so when the data is it's presented on a Monday, so at that point we'll have to make a decision based on the data and also inform parents. So more to follow on how that's coordinated and communicated, but we, out of abundance of a caution, we're always going to do the safest thing. So in the coming days, hopefully after Wednesday's meeting, they could give us a little bit more guidance, because I can see a scenario possibly where we get the number and we need to make decisions quickly to pivot. And I want to make that as smooth as possible for families and staff and all that. So hopefully Monday we'll get more guidance on and recommendations on how to do that. More to come.
Thank you.
Tom, what would happen if we met the metrics and then say we had a change again and then we didn't meet them again?
Right. Another good question. Again, I think we just need to follow what's, for now, 3 weeks in a row. So we would need to see all categories met 3 weeks in a row. So we're good to go to have students back in class. And I do anticipate all districts, all 197 of our districts in the state are going to be asking the same questions. Board members will be asking in all probably 197 districts these questions along with parents. So hopefully Wednesday we can see, when we work with ODE and we see the metrics and we can ask these various scenarios, I can get some better guidance for the board and the community. But for now, 3 weeks in a row, we need to meet those guidance in positivity cases and under the threshold of 30 cases per 100,000.
I have one more question about the guidance piece, and I'm sorry if this is like too specific, but when it says that that we can't have any any spread within the school community, does that mean that if there are cases that pop up between students or teachers, that would also trigger a school close? And would that go for the whole district or just that school? Like, what would be the conditions there?
Good question. So we asked that question Thursday with working with the Lynn County Health Authorities, and they will, on a case-by-case basis, guide us through those scenarios. So I did ask, okay, a student on a bus, a student in a classroom test positive, or staff member, what will we do? And they said, case by case, we'll trace, we'll ask for your cohorting data, and we'll give you recommendations. And it will be based on each case and how much contact that individual potentially had and to what extent. So that's why it's paramount that we have very good records and tracking systems, and we intend to do that. So again, case by case. Great question.
So Tom, just to clarify, this information is available on the district website. I know I've seen questions come up on Facebook with, kind of trying to figure out what's going on. Should I buy school supplies? Should I not buy school supplies? Where are we going? That type of thing. This is up on the district website. Is there a way that we can maybe get that pushed out there as much as possible to alleviate the parents wondering?
Yeah, absolutely. Tonight, board meeting is very important because there's 2 resolutions of support for the board to consider. It's the resolution of support for both our blueprints for distance and in-person on-site learning, and there's a resolution of support for K through 3 students following the county metrics. and the board supporting bringing the kids back. So to answer the question, after tonight, we plan to upload all this information. If you'll bear with me, I could like to screen share. Kevin Strong made a document that will produce either tonight or tomorrow at the conclusion of this board meeting. Share. Stand by. Thank you for your patience. I'm struggling right now a little bit to move this. Okay. Can you see this?
It's a black screen, but it's coming up. There we go.
Kevin, I'd like to.
Might help you maximize that screen and you don't have it maximized.
How's that?
That's better.
Kevin put this together. And Kevin, would you want to take a moment and explain what this grid shows?
Sure, Tom. Looking at it, the first box deals with grades 4 through 12. And kind of in a nutshell, if you see a line that is in red, that means we would not be able to open. And so in the case of grades 4 through 12, 6 of 9 metrics are in red right now for us. Meanwhile, moving down to the bottom, the metrics for grades K through 3, currently they are all green. So based on our understanding of the state guidelines, we are able to open schools for on-site learning for grades K through 3 at this time.
Oops, I hit the other button. So Chairman Reddick, yes, the answer is we'll produce a lot of information at the conclusion of this board meeting. Tomorrow we'll upload our back to school plans and our metrics so parents can follow along.
All right, any other questions for Tom?
Yes, so Tom, right now we're sitting at 4.7 for the K through 3. That could easily kick the 5. Would that make it so we have to go distance only for K through 3?
Joe, you're breaking up a little bit. I think you said we're sitting at test positivity 4.7. And so if we we will then exceed the county 5.1. Did I hear the question correctly? Kevin, do you want to help?
You heard right.
Did I answer that? Did everyone? Good.
I think Joe's giving you a thumbs up there. All right, other questions, right? So we'll go to we have the board vacancy update next. Hey, Tom, yeah, there you go.
I appreciate the board bearing with my technology struggles this evening. Okay, board vacancy. We've posted the position for the required 20 days to allow for any Crawfordsville applicants to apply. None have applied from Crawfordsville. We now have the seat open to Sweet Home at Large. I think we have one applicant. I believe we have two more that might want to apply. So I anticipate bringing before the board possibly 1 to 3 applicants for the September board meeting.
All right, sounds good. All right, next we've got the consent agenda. Approve the minutes from the July 13, 2020 school board meeting. Approve the hire of Terry Martin, junior high principal, effective August 3, 2020. Approve a leave of absence for Marcy Sullins for the 2020-2021 school year. Approve the hire of Skylar Bascom, counselor at the junior high for the 2020-2021 school year. And approve the retirement of Delise Rose, Title I teacher at Hawthorne Elementary, effective August 10, 2020.
I move to approve.
Second.
Okay, so we got Mike, the motion, and Jason Van Eck, the second. I'll go ahead and go around the screen. It's shifted a little bit, so you might be in a little bit different order here again. So
Jason,
we'll
I got a
start.
question.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Should have, taken some questions. Sorry.
So Tom, on Delisa's retirement, what kind of a pickle that put us in getting her position filled or whatever we're gonna do there?
So for her position, it's title. And so for that title position, we can we can reanalyze, I should say. It'll be a decision that I'll have Principal Riggs work with Chief Academic Officer Rachel Stuckey, as well as analyze our title funds and figure out what to do next. So we'll work as a team to figure out how to fill that void.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. Now we'll go through the roll call. So I, if you approve, and nay if you don't. So Deborah Brown, start with you.
Aye.
All right. And Joe Kennedy
Aye.
and Jenny Daniels
Aye.
and Mike Reynolds
Aye.
and Jason Van Eck
Aye.
and Chance Keeney.
Aye.
And I am also an aye. So consent agenda passes. All right. Information discussion, budget update, bond and safety information. Kevin.
Okay, thanks, Jason. First, 6A in the board packet, budget update. Currently for this fiscal year, we are $21,450 below in spending compared to where we were at the same time last year. Two primary reasons for that. First, all 12-month employees had 4 unpaid furlough days during the month of July. The second reason is we had a lot of temporary classified help last summer, helping with the projects going on then at Foster and also at Holly. We do have some temporary help helping us this summer at the junior high, but not nearly as much. So when you're comparing last year to this year, we're realizing some labor savings there. So those two reasons are why we are currently below where we were at the same time period last year. Moving on to the next page, safety. We did have one recordable incident during the month of July. We had a staff member cut his hand on a piece of metal that required 2 stitches. We've definitely gone over with our entire staff the importance of personal protective equipment that likely could have prevented that from happening. And then moving to the next page, bond update. We're nearing the home stretch for the junior high project. It's kind of exciting to get inside and see it. Right now, I'm especially impressed with the work our facilities team is doing to tie in the existing building with the new addition. It's looking really good. And I'm just hopeful that students at some point here in the future can get inside and benefit from it. It should be a really nice learning space. And I think moving on, I also have a budget committee update. I'm happy to report that Lori McKinnon has applied to be on the budget committee. She has a very strong financial and also corporate background. I think she's going to be a great addition to the budget committee, and it's nice to have her application there.
All right, any questions for Kevin? Okay, there's a facilities update in there too. Not sure if that was you, Kevin, or if that was Tom going to do that tonight.
How about I'll let Tom begin, and if there's anything else, I'll try my best to cover it.
Okay. First, so you know that Josh has spent the summer making sure he's ordered a lot of the equipment and safety equipment that we need, cleaning, hygiene equipment. We have over 9,000 masks, I think over 300 face shields. So he's done a great job and lots of cleaning materials. He's done a great job at that. He sent me a list. He couldn't make tonight's meeting. And I'll just summarize some of the things. At Foster, they've installed the missing trim that needed to get put in place and painted. At Holly, they finished the punch list. He's finished the punch list with girding. Miscellaneous stuff. He made sure that that's got done or it's getting done. He explains he's on a tight schedule at the junior high to get the teachers back into their rooms before the school begins. He has a meeting set up with the fire marshal and building inspector at the junior high to make sure that we're ready to open for staff and or students. He'll be working hard on the elementary schools to make sure our rooms are ready to go for social distancing. We'll have safety rooms or areas we can to use to separate kids and to meet all the cleaning requirements. That's the list that Josh gave me. And Kevin, I don't know if you want to add to it, please do.
It's a good list. I think we'll work over the next week or two to try to get some pictures taken inside that we can show maybe on the district website and also on the Facebook page, just so the community can see the progress taking place as well.
All right, any questions for Tom or Kevin there? All right, we'll move on to the action items then. So first one there, appoint Lori McKinnon, position 3, Foster Budget Committee, term ending 6/30/2022.
I move we appoint her to the budget committee.
I'll second.
Okay, we got Mike with the motion and Joe with the second. Go ahead and any discussion on this one? All right, we'll go ahead and go around the screen again here. So Deborah
Aye.
and Joe
Aye.
and Jenny
Aye.
and Mike
Aye.
and Jason
Aye.
and Chance.
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. I think that's a great appointment. So, all right, next we've got the resolution 01-2021 approval of the operational blueprints for reentry for the 2020-2021 school year.
I move we approve resolution number 01-2021.
I second.
All right, so we got Mike on the motion and Deborah on the second. Any discussion on that resolution? All right, I'll go around my screen again. So Deborah
Aye.
and Joe.
Aye.
All right, and Jenny
Aye.
and Mike,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
and Chance.
Aye.
And I am also an aye. So resolution 01-2021 passes. And then next is resolution 02-2021, approval of the K through 3 and 4 to 12 distance and on-site learning plans.
I move we approve resolution number 02-2021.
I second.
All right, so we got Mike with the motion, Deborah with the second. Any discussion on this item? All right, we'll go back around the screen. Deborah
Aye.
and Joe
Aye.
and Jenny
Aye.
and Mike,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Chance,
Aye.
and I am also an aye. So resolution 02-2021 is also a pass. All right, that gets through the action items. So do we have any board comments?
Well, I'll just say it's a shout out to everybody there. It's gonna be some tough situation to be in for this coming school year. So kudos to getting it done and figured out. And hopefully you can not have to do this in and out stuff and go backwards and forth. That'd be kind of a drag, but we get some things will ease up and we'll go back in the classroom all the way around. But thanks for everything you guys are doing.
I think it's probably important to recognize the teachers and administrators are putting in the extra time as well. I know summertime is usually pretty sacred, and we're asking a lot of some people to be in here and get this thing ironed out. So appreciate everybody that's putting in the extra time, definitely.
I'd like to thank everybody for, especially the community, for having patience to go through all this, kind of like what Mike said. I think a lot of things are going to change before we start school. A lot of it's out of our control, but I think that as a community, we're going in the right direction.
All right, I don't want to cut anybody off. All right, we'll move forward with the future agenda items. Looks like the in-service this year is to be announced. I was wondering how we were going to do the big back to school bash, but it's going to be a tough one this year, right? So look for more information on that. Next board officers meeting is Tuesday, September 8, 2020, 3:30 in the superintendent's office. And our next board meeting is September 14, 2020 at 6:30. Hopefully in the district office boardroom, but be prepared. Depending on the situation, we may be back with Zoom. So anything else we need to add on that? All right, hearing nothing, we will go ahead and adjourn. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time and bearing with me with the screen sharing and all that.
We're all learning, Tom.
Well, I know how to do it, and it's a little bit slow,